Okay, everybody, look what we got. Sawhorses. And what these are for, this is what we're going to prop the boat up on because we got to get under it and do cleaning and stuff. So we only made two. So we'll use two on one hull, do all of our work, and then take the hull off of that, and then take it to the next hull and work on that one, and take it off and work on the third one. So that way we don't have to make two of these, and we don't have to make six of these because we'll just transfer them. They're also 3 feet high, which the other ones were about 2 feet high roughly. But because we got to get under the boat and do a lot of cleaning and stuff, and we don't want to be laying on the ground with barely any room to move our arms to scrape or clean or whatever we're going to do under the boat, I made them 3 feet high. So it's just basically, we bought a bundle of wood here. These are 1x2s. This is Gemelina, and I'm not a big fan of Gemelina ordinarily, but this wood looked pretty good. But the problem is, when you nail it, it cracks a lot. See the cracks? It'll crack a lot. That one didn't crack. That one cracked down there a little bit, and out there a little bit. So it cracks a lot. It's kind of a cracky wood, if you want to have a word for it. But other than that, it's not bad. But some people use Gemelina to build boats with. I do not recommend building a boat with Gemelina because, again, it cracks. And it's not that sturdy of a wood, although this wood here that we have here seems pretty sturdy, you know. It's just a 1x2, but it seems rigid and stiff. So I don't know how easy it breaks because I'm not going to try to break it. But you know, just when you're building boats, you use Lawaan and plywood, you know, if you're going to, in the Philippines, of course, and use white Lawaan for the wood because it's flexible. The red Lawaan is stiff and like really hard to bend and flex. If you're kind of like curving a piece for the bow, you can't bend it good, and it won't bend. It'll just go straight. It won't make that nice curve, you know, like a boat should have. So anyway, Lawaan, and again, in the Philippines, you want to use Santa Clara brand plywood. And lately, okay, we are at the boat, back at the boat, and look at that. Whoa, is that a sawhorse? Is that a 3 foot high sawhorse? Whoa, Chaboogan. That's Coy. He's a brother. He owns that green and yellow and red boat right there. He's a good guy. He helps build our boats and helps us get boats in. And now him and his brother's Celso. He's the main boat helper, builder guy. So anyway, we're building sawhorses, 3 foot high. The other ones were over there. They got one under that. They were 2 feet high. But I get under here and clean barnacles off and check the epoxy where the prop shaft comes out down here. We'll be back with more from my paradise on Bantayan Island. Yeah, this is the boat lot. See this here? Look at all these boats, man. Yeah, look at all of them. These are all the fishermen. Then there's some maybe down on the hill, and there's another beach over on that side. You out and around. There's another boat with as many boats here, maybe more. So these are all fishing boats, and I guess that's a retired boat that somebody may rebuild at some point in their life. I don't know. After a while, they just give up because there's just too much work to do to maintain it, or they're out of the business. Fishing business didn't pay off. So anyway, back to work. Paradise is building sawhorses. Paradise out. If I can get a piece of the boat and the sawhorse. All right, everybody. We got the boat up on the 3 foot high sawhorses. Yeah. And this is the reason we had to get this out. One nut wasn't welded. One nut. That's why we had to get all the boat out of here. And these are the barnacles and stuff that's stuck on everything, little shells and stuff. But yeah, that one little nut. And I'm going to make another one right here. Right here. So we'll have two. So if that one breaks, I can wrap it with the tire inner tube strip and hose clamp it like this on here, this side and this side, and block the water and the grease from going out, water from going in. And I'll have a second one here that has a standby. So if it happens again, the problem is you can't put too much heat on that nut. But look at that rust on there. That's out of focus, but look at that rust. That just rusted. This is all 304 grade stainless. This nut and this weld, the welding rod should have been 304 grade. But if you mix your grades, you can get dissimilar metal corrosion. That's like, I think, like maybe called galvanic corrosion, and you have a problem. So anyway, next time we're going to try better. But we're using stainless steel 304 grade TIG welding rods. So I don't know, maybe the nut wasn't good 304 or something. I don't know, honey. Hey everybody, you know, I was telling you I was going to make those little grease nipple things, and instead of a nut to weld on my propeller shaft tube, and the problem is, like I said, when you put enough heat on it, it melts the nut. So, and we need something with more mass, and so you can weld around the edge and it doesn't, you know, melt right through and destroy the nut. So anyway, I've done it. I sliced a piece of propeller shaft. I've got some extra. I sliced it, and then I drilled a hole in it, and then I tapped it. You can see the threads inside there. I tapped it. I bought a tap, you know, that's the right size, and I tapped it, and then I cut this little, you know, shape on the bottom so it sets on the pipe better, and you can get a better weld. But these are my little Zerk fittings. So I'll put these on the propeller shaft tube over the hole that I drilled in the propeller shaft tube. I'll take this Zerk nipple off when I'm welding, and I also stick a screw or a bolt through here, a loose bolt through here and through the hole, so this sets on the pipe and lines up with the hole that I've drilled. So I'll set this directly on top of the hole that I've drilled and stick a bolt through both, and that way I know this hole's lined up with that, and then we'll weld around it. And then we'll do, and like I said, I got two of these bad boys, so I can now weld these on there and not have to worry about melting the nut. The nut is tiny. Let me get a nut and I'll show you. I got a little nut in here. Yeah, so anyway, I got the nut out of my handy dandy bag of stuff. Oh, this is my tap here too, that I tap and make this upside down. Yeah, here's the tap. It's a 6 millimeter. It's a 6 millimeter by 1. I don't know what 1 is, but gotta watch. Everybody wants to scrape the bottom of the boat with something sharp and tear all the paint off the bottom, but I don't want to. I want to just clean the barnacles off, which we have. See right here, all the barnacles, and it's not as bad as I thought it was, but nonetheless, we need to get them off. See, there was a shell, like a little oyster shell. My finger, see right there, a little oyster-like shell stuck to it. All kinds of little things stick to it. But anyway, we gotta come up with a technique to get under here and scrape all that stuff off. And then we got a little separation here. See right here, separation here between the plywood and this deck and this here. So we gotta take my angle grinder and grind a clean wood there, and then epoxy that. But that part there is really 2x4 mahogany, 2 inches thick with epoxy filled sides. So we are solid as a rock. Really, on the inside, that's more cosmetic than it is physical damage. I mean, you know, problems, damage. And then on these other holes, I'll show you something that we did too, that we got to fix. Same thing. We got to add epoxy, sand it down some and add epoxy. You see we have our little bamboo doodads here that we set the boat on, the bamboo tubes. Well, problem is the barnacles grow on them. And when the tide goes in and out, when it's down sort of low and the waves are still there, the boat's just kind of sliding back and forth, grinding against those barnacles. And we literally round a thin spot right here. There's a thin spot you can feel through the paint and that, and we got a thin spot. So it's not much, but nonetheless, this barnacle encrusted guy rubbed on here. And also our chines, our strakes, I think we only have one strake in the center here. We're back here, we got 3. So if we had it where the 3 were, which is where the rope is, but it's got so much slack that it can float up and move to where there's only 1. And then it can go crooked and rub against the edge on this side or rub against the edge on that side, because it's kind of seesawing on that one strake in the center. So we got to make sure that one stays back there. Maybe we'll hook it in this little groove right here. See these between the step toe? So there. So we got to do some epoxy on that. So all these things we have to flip. Honey, what are you doing? Oh, okay. So yeah, we got some minor maintenance to do, plus get this welding done. And when I go home, I go back to the house. It's not my home. My home's on Bentayan. Oh, look at that. She's way up there, huh? That looking fancy or what? Like 2nd story. We're talking penthouse boat. So anyway, you can see this one here too. This one got crushed. Here, this one got crushed somehow. It wasn't as good as the other. It was the biggest one, which we put at the back to lift the prop up so that it wouldn't be getting bent, pressing down on the bottom of the ocean there. When the tide goes down to, when the tide goes out, it just, you're sitting on the ground. So all these bamboo things are designed to keep us above ground. So basically that's it. We got to get this welded. So I'm going to bring my drill. I should have brought my wire brush here. Wire brush all this, get it all super clean. I got to drill a new hole in here. I got to take out the prop shaft. I have to drill a new hole through here, wherever I'm going to put the next one. Maybe down here. And just so you know, whenever I do pump grease in here, I have to put the inner tube around here and put these 2 hose clamps, one on each side, one on the tube side and one on this side, to close this off so that the oil doesn't just pump out the back, because it's going to take the path of least resistance, of course. So if you're pumping here, it's just going to ooze out here. It's never going to run all the way up through the boat and come out in front of where that sponge is. Right there. It should come out there if I've got everything else sealed, which it did before. I did it. It worked perfect. You have to pump super slow or you'll blow out your rear tire inner tube seal. But if you pump slow and just let, because grease is thick, and just let it travel at its own speed up to here, you can get it all the way up. And then it'd be a good idea, which I didn't do. I didn't really spin it. I didn't spin it and then pump it again to fill up any air gaps in case it's just going up on one side, or the other. We need to have the whole shaft greased, because that's a lubrication, and you have to re-grease that every now and then. So on these boats with engines, 4 guys can just pick these up and carry them in. I mean, wearing their flip-flops is nothing to carry those boats. We just had 6 guys, I think, pick this thing up and set it here, and they were all like grunting and groaning. So anyway, somebody's looking for trouble over there with that screwdriver, so she can't leave the barnacles alone. But we'll get some tools. We got some plastic spatulas and bamboo spatulas. See, this is how they carry that. Yeah, there you go. See, that's how you get a boat. That's how you build a boat that 4 men can carry. See, like that. And then you just set it on the tires. Oh, you got caught on his shirt got caught on the little. This orange tube here is not bamboo. It's a GI pipe, and they bend it. They get like 2 trees like that. You see these 2 trees that's side by side? They put the pipe between there, and then they use that in that V, and then use that to work it and bend these curves in this pipe. So that's your trick. Get a tree like that with that V, stick your pipe in there, and then use that to bend. They figure all this stuff out way before I ever could. So I'm glad I got all this experience and knowledge. So anyway, we got to go to work.
This is my right hand to finish this product.
What's that?
I am your right hand.
Oh, there's my right hand. Is this my left hand, or where's my left hand? Did I have a left hand somewhere?
I am the architect of this project.
Oh, okay. Everybody is a helper here. So anyway, we'll be back with more. We're up high, riding high, baby, riding high. Yeah, and then after we're through doing all the work on this one, then we set this back down on the ground. Then we take these two sawhorses, put it under that one or under that one, and do whatever work we got to do on those. We got to flip these upside down also, so I can do that epoxy work where that bamboo tube and the barnacles wore through the hull up a little bit, 1/16 of an inch, but it ain't through all the paint and stuff, and you don't want your wood wet here. Never get your wood wet. Wood stays dry, so it's sealed everywhere. So anyway, we will be back with more. High and dry, I guess you'd call that, huh, boys and girls? Paradise out. Okay, everybody, we had a rough and tumble time getting this prop shaft out of the cross joint, which is this part here was rusted into the cross joint because the cross joint, you know, hasn't. The outside of the cross joint is good because I painted it with some Samurai automotive paint. And so, but the inside where it slides into the tube there, that part was rusted. And this is stainless steel. That's not stainless steel, that's iron. That's just regular cast iron. But this part is stainless steel, so this didn't rust. If it did, that would be really, really bad, but this is a stainless steel shaft. It's a 304 grade stainless steel shaft, so it's good. So now I'm going to wipe all the grease off here, because anytime we put, oh, and also the grease that we did when we used the Zerk fitting, and we put a clamp and a inner tube strap on this, 2 clamps, and blocked this off so the grease didn't exit here when we pumped it in here. So this is the path of least resistance, of course, and we made sure it pumped it all the way up there and came out at the end of the tube up here, and it did. And well, I just wanted to look at this, and you can see this entire shaft is greased nicely. So our lubrication system works. The only problem was the nut that the Zerk fitting screwed into, the weld just wasn't whatever good enough. So again, we're going to go dress that up and weld it, and we'll be back with more. I had to clean all the grease off that thing because, like I said, anything you touch that with, it's gonna make a greasy mess. So Paradise out. Okay, folks, of course you can tell we're at the back of the boat, back of the center hull. The other holes are over there and over there, right over there. You can see them. Probably can see them, recognize them. So anyway, what we did today, we ground off the old ugly, or the old welding stuff that was left over after this nut, excuse me, the Zerk fitting nut broke off with the Zerk fitting. We don't know where it went, but it's gone. And then I ground it here to get oxidation and stuff off, to clean it up, you know, make it kind of nice looking. And then I did the same thing here, because I'm going to put another Zerk fitting here. So I have 2 a spare. So yeah, I try to ground this flat, so when we weld, we're welding onto a flat surface, not so much a round one. It doesn't really matter, but still, I just thought maybe that would be a good thing to do, so I did it. So the next thing we're going to try to do, we got a bucket here. We're going to get another bucket full of water, and we're going to get our pressure washer and see if we can clean this boat with a pressure washer. I don't know. I have no idea, but the pressure washer claims it's 4,000 psi. Well, that's a lot. And so we're going to put it to use. We're going to put it on here. First, I'm going to try to clean this stuff off of here, because this is stainless steel and I can't blast the paint off if it is 4,000 psi. I don't know. I just have to get back further away to, you know, lessen the pressure. I can't put it right on top of the, you know, within an inch of that. Hopefully it doesn't blast away. So I'm going to test this here, see if I can blast this. This is exactly what's on the bottom of the boat, dried algae. And it feels kind of sharp on the bottom of the boat here. Feels a little softer. There's also little shells here too, that little barnacle and little like oyster shells, things, not oysters, but they have, you know, a little animal inside of them, like an oyster or like clam, but they adhere, stick themselves to here, to the bottom of the boat, and then they grow. They get bigger and bigger as they go. And so that is a problem, because the bigger they get, the harder they are to get off. You may have to use like a screwdriver and crack them off, and I don't want to damage the paint or the wood on the bottom of the boat, so hopefully we won't do any of that. So here's our water thing, and we'll be back with more. Yeah, honey, we need to bring that over here, honey. Bring that over, honey, over here. So here's our water supply right here, and then we will, honey, watch where you're stepping. And now we're going to go get the pressure pump, and we'll be back with more. We're going to hook it up and see what we can do. Paradise out. Hey, y'all, fellow boat washers. I got the pump. Now, supposedly this is 4,000 psi, and I don't know if it really is, but normally pumps like this, the other style, the taller ones that roll around on two wheels like a dolly, those are about 1,300 psi. This one says 4,000, so I don't really know if it is, but it's getting the majority of the algae and salt buildup, and it doesn't get the shells off because they're big and they've grown enough that they're really attached. So we're going to have to chip those off with a putty knife and a little block of wood or something to tap on the handle of the putty knife to chip off the big shells. But in general, and this is not what I'm talking about, I'm actually talking about underneath. Let's get over here on the side. I'm working. Clean this off pretty good. See that? I can scrub that now with a little stainless steel, with the steel wool, and get the rest of that off. But I'm working on this part here, and you can see that's not the best part. I'm kind of developing a system where, see all the shells? See all these big shells? Those are bad boys here. You got to get once we get all the paint off. See, like that. Where's my hand? Right there. See, these are the shells that stick, and that's a small one. Small ones. See all these little. We can get the one side off, but the part that's stuck to the boat, like I said, we're gonna have to chip that off. But this used to be solid green, and now we just got little veins of salt incrustation, salt. But the beauty is, once this gets wet, it comes off easier. So it's been dry for a week now. So it's been out of the ocean drying for like a week, so you can see where a bit of a challenge here. So, do you find Gilbert?
No, McCoy bring the two big guys.
Okay, so anyway, we're gonna finish this. Oh, also we added some bleach to it. This is a bleach gel to it to maybe help. I don't know. We're just trying, but it's got a soap attachment, so you can spray soap and water mixture at it. And bleach is what I'm shooting at these shells and stuff, so I don't know if they're going to like that or not like that or not care at all. Okay, here is the boat now, and we're partially through, but we found out that once, and I may have said this before, once, not this side here, we're going to have to scrub this side with our little scouring pad and some soap stuff, but we're doing better. We're getting quite a bit of the bottom stuff off. As you can see, it's a lot more white. See those black shells? Those ones we're going to have to chip off, but you see that's more white? It's not solid green like that. That's how it was, completely encrusted like that. And now we've got some of the paint showing, but those shells, you can't blast those off. You got to chip those off. But we'll get a plastic spatula and a block of wood, and we'll tap the block of wood and the spatula on the shell, and that should pop those off. And I was told it may take the paint off. So if anybody wants to come up with a fancy super glue, they can use whatever glue those shells use to connect themselves, because them suckers are on there. Okay, folks, we are beside the boat. That's the back of the boat. That's the rudder. That's the propeller shaft. And of course the bracing that I made, fancy bracing. Here's where this is connected to the boat. And this is the bottom of the boat. And you see, because the bottom of the boat sat out there in the ocean for a while, we got shells. Literally like little oyster, they're not oyster shells, but they're shells. And they're all attached to the boat. And what we do, where's Lindy? Okay, go ahead and do it, honey. Do it. And we take our putty knife, and you have to knock these things off, and you just tap them until they pop off without damaging the bottom of the boat. Because the bottom of this boat is paint. There's some epoxy portions, like right there, that yellow spot. That's all epoxy, but the rest of it is paint, except for where the strakes are. This is a strake here, like some people might call it a chine, but it's a strake. So those are epoxied. So anyway, that's basically what you do. You get your knife, put it on the edge, keep it parallel with the bottom of the boat. Don't dig into the boat again, because we're not trying to get the epoxy off. Get into where the deep part is, where the thick part is. And then the shells will either pop completely off, or the thick part will pop off and the thin part will lay there. I'm not so sure that I'm worried about the thin part, because see right here, and this doesn't really show up that well, but right here there's a thin part, but it's so thin it's just laying on the bed, and I don't know if anything will stick to that in the future. So that may be like a protective barrier, but right here, this little part here where I'm at, I got to chip that off because that's the thick part. And we're trying to smooth the hull. And we want to smooth the hull, of course, because see, there's a lot of them. See those black things? Those are all shells. And the white things are when we took the top half of the shell off. That comes off easy, and then the bottom of the shell is what adheres itself to the bottom of the boat. So anyway, we're going to get busy. Hopefully she'll show you. She'll demonstrate. Honey, honey, honey. There you go. There. Oh, okay, hope you guys saw that. But that took half of the shell off. Now there's one half more right here, and we got to get off. So we'll get that off there. And just the same thing. Just put your knife on there on the edge. It's better to get it on the thick part. This is one that I can get from my side better than she can get. So I'm going to get it from my side, and then we're going to continue on. Like I said, this is the bottom of the boat here. Those are the chines, or the strakes, and we need to get all the shells off, and then we'll power wash it again. And we're going to try to get we've got the shells off, or at least the shell portions that stick out. A lot of the shell actually glues itself to the boat, and it doesn't interfere. See, like right here, this is perfectly smooth all the way around, and it's even more slick where that shell is. It's more slick, and there's nothing attached to it. So we left that part on there, but we have all this sand like looking stuff. I don't know if you can see all that. It's a sand, and there's little tubes. There's little tube holes in the sand. Let's see if I can. Where's my hand? Oh, right here. There we go. Yeah, see all this stuff here? That's sand, but it's little bugs that made little tube holes, little tunnels. They construct tunnels, and you can look at the opening, and you can see like a little tiny hole. But they made their little things. It's like a termite tunnel, but it's obviously it's in the ocean, so there's no termites out there. And I don't think they're burrowing into the boat, but they're adhering to it. Okay, everybody, we are scraping the sand monsters. They're little tiny things that make little tunnels made from sand, and they stick all to the bottom of your hull. We're scraping them off. This is how we do it right here. Just like that. Scraping it. Trying not to get any of the paint off. You can see, if you saw the before and the after, huge difference. So anyway, we get it wet also, so that it softens it, and we spray it with we got our sprayer. We got a little, like a soap dispenser. You can, like car washes, make soap with the spray. Well, we put vinegar in here because vinegar dissolves minerals, and so that helps soften this stuff up, so it's easier for us to scrape off. So anyway, I get back to work, and we'll be back with more about Paradise on the Italian island. We're blasting it and scraping Paradise out the boat. But you can see we cleaned the side about as best as we can without taking paint off of the side. And again, once you, or maybe not again, but once this gets back in the ocean, in 2 days, it'll be green again. So you can scrub it, paint it, put it in the ocean. 2 days is green. So it's pointless to knock yourself out getting it 100%. But that's, you can see a little bathtub ring. You know, if you ever had a bathtub, you can see the bathtub ring. There's a little bit of a bathtub ring there. So anyway, the bottom of this, we've done pretty good. You can see the white. It actually looks white. Do you see that? That's amazing. And that's after we used the steel wool. We used the steel wool on this. And after we scraped the sand worms off, the sand bugs, we used steel wool, stainless steel wool. And that was easy to use. I mean, you're still scrubbing and stuff, but it's not much at all. And it takes off whatever little remainder of the sand there was. And again, we still have shells, like right there, right, where's that? Oh, there, right there, there's a shell. And I might could knock that off with a putty knife and a block of wood if it's sticking up. If it's flush with the finish of the boat, I don't bother it, because it's not impeding the hydrodynamics. So I'm quite pleased. So this is basically 6 hours of work to do everything that we've done so far. All the shells, see all these little shells down on the ground here, all those, chipping all those off, washing the side, even cleaning and steel wool in the rudder. By the way, I'm going to increase the size of this. I'm going to make it maybe another inch taller and maybe another 1.5 inches longer, something like that. I don't know. We're going to come up with an improvement, because it's the rudder for all this boat for 43 feet of hull, because we got 19 here, got 12 there and 12 there, so that's 24 plus 19, I guess 43. So we got 43 feet of hull we have to turn, and this little rudder here makes it kind of drift to one side or the other. It won't, you're not gonna make a U-turn with that thing. And you got a lot of pressure here too that you got to push. This is the rudder steering arm here. As you turn this, you can see, let me turn it here so you can see how this mechanism works. Okay, I should grease this tube here too. Well, I'm going to pull. Well, I can't pull this. Can I pull this out? Yes, I think I can. I can take this off, unscrew this. This comes off. This bolt comes out, and then it's only just the shaft. I'm also going to weld one of these little rods from here to here and from here to here to strengthen this so it doesn't try to bend. The other thing I've done is this will only go 30 degrees left and right. And I've explained this before a long time ago when I was installing this and rigging this. So when I push it back, it hits here and stops. Or when it goes forward, this hits here and stops. So that limits it to a 30-degree swing either way, which if you go more than that, you're dragging it like a brake, and it's not turning your boat. It's dragging like a brake, and you can bend the shaft. So that's one thing when you do a rudder system like this, not like a outboard where you turn the whole thing. You can turn that sideways because it's got a prop that's going to push it the direction that it's turned. This has a prop right there just telling it to go straight, and you're turning this, blocking the prop, and the thrust is like pushing into here in the motion of the boat, and you're just making it into like a water brake, and you're going to bend your shaft if you're not careful. So anyway, we got it. This is as good as we're going to get it. Next thing we got to do is, I talked to my welder today, and he's busy until next week, so he can't weld these two little nuts on. One nut here, one little nut here. I'm going to talk to him again and ask him if he can come by in the evening after he gets off work. Just come here and just weld these two nuts on and then go home. I'll see if he is willing to do that. That's it, folks. We're got a cleaner bottom. See right there, see all that white? Before you couldn't see anything. And I know you go, well, that looks like a lot of dirt there. Well, it's a lot of discoloration and a little bit of a something. But look at that spot right there. White, baby. I mean, we could do more, but I'm just not going to beat myself up doing that, cleaning that. Because, again, it'll get dirty. I'll be out here in a week scraping it again. Hi, y'all. We are here once again. Another day, starting off. And I've showed you guys this before, but you see here, this little crack here, where the wood isn't epoxied well. When they build boats here, and I didn't build this boat. I wasn't here for the build of this boat, this hull. I was here building that hull, and I was here modifying. I modified this hull for the cross beams and all the supports and everything else. And but I wasn't here for the building or assembling of this hull. So what happens is epoxy costs a lot of money, relatively here. So everybody, when they use it, they just use it very sparingly. Well, this is what happens when you use it sparingly, okay? It comes apart. So we got to sand this down and epoxy this all the way from here to where we want to go. I don't know, maybe back here somewhere, maybe back here, maybe all the way to the end here of this piece of wood. Yeah, I think we'll do this whole thing. So I got to get my sander, my orbital or vibrating sander, whatever you want to call it, and sand all this down, get it down to bare wood, and then epoxy, because epoxy will stick to bare wood. It'll absorb into it, and it won't really absorb into other epoxy. It'll just lay on top and have kind of a funny bond. So when we bring the welder out, but we're just doing light. We don't set on the welder to generate heat. We gotta only weld those two. Let me get my little doodad out here. Show you. I may have showed you this before, but let me. Here, I got two of these that I made. I was going to weld the nut, but the nut is so small that if you put enough heat to actually melt the nut to here and get a full bond, it can melt the nut. So I cut a piece of the propeller shaft, not off of this shaft, but just an extra piece I have, and made this little guy here. And see, I kind of curved the bottom there, so it kind of sits on top. And then we'll weld one here, and then we'll weld one here. And we'll pull. We're not going to weld it with this thing in here because that's got a spring, and you don't want heat to be getting to that. So we'll unscrew these and then weld these on. But we'll put a screw, because see, there's holes there that has to line up. I have a small screw that goes, it's smaller than this hole. It doesn't screw into this hole. It just goes through it. And we'll put it over there. We'll put it through there and into that hole, and then we'll weld. And then that screw just aligns it, and you can just take the screw out. It's just like a little toothpick that's stuck in there for alignment purposes only. So we'll do that, and then we're good to go. All right, we are now cleaning all the sawdust off of here, or the sanding dust off. We had an air compressor or something, we could blast it. So we're pretty well. And again, so I've got a layer epoxy on here, and all the way back to here. And there's some wood exposed most of the way here. So I'll be able to, I think I need to hit that a little bit more with the sander. I'm using a 120 grit on this little orbital sander. This is a 1200 peso sander. I got another one too. I got two, one for me, one for Lindy. So we can sand together, but this is just a one-person job here. So okay, folks, we just got through. I sanded it with the 120 sandpaper to just expose the wood and the surface and all that, and not get too aggressive. But then when you felt it afterwards, it was really slick, and we got to get the paint and the epoxy to actually have something to grab to. So I hit it with some 60 grit. 60 grit, see right there, 60. Can you see that? P60. That's upside down. It's really like that P60. So this is 60 grit, and that's gonna make some texture on here that we can, stuff's gonna grab hold of. Alrighty, we have done the epoxy patching after the sanding, and that's, I'm not trying to make it look beautiful because this is all under water. The water lines around here, where I just try to make it thick and adhering to the hull. That's what I want. And underneath here, you can see, got it underneath where it rolls under. That's a good thing. So it's kind of grabbing on all sides. So after this, we paint it. So I'll let this dry. Maybe it's 3 o'clock now, so I'm probably close to 5. I think I can paint it. And it's not bad to paint right after you epoxy, because the epoxy is still curing and the paint is epoxy paint, and they both cure in kind of, chemically, combined. So anyway, alrighty, we got her done. We got all the separation, plywood filled with epoxy, and again, we're not worried about aesthetics so much as we're concerned about the functionality of this. So this is all of our epoxy line here. We painted and filled in. There was some little wood exposed here where when you sand, there's some exposure there, so we epoxied all that in. Some of the epoxy chipped off of this. I chipped it off and then I re-epoxied it here. Put some paint on there. And again, you've got, the two-tone look here, which this is all underwater, so nobody's going to notice it. I'm not painting the boat. I'm just patching what needs to be patched, and everything that needs to be patched is below the water line. So again, I'm not worried about it, because in a week it'll all just kind of a bathtub ring, and we have to scrub it off. So anyway, not in a week from now, but a week after it's in the ocean. So then we found some bare little edges of the wood here, and we put the epoxy enamel on that. On there we found some chips where the little landing, I don't know what's called, these bamboo tubes, but anyway, it sets on there at low tide, so it theoretically doesn't scratch up, rocks don't scratch up the bottom, but then that thing scratches the area where it's at. But fortunately, it's setting on the chines, or the strakes, and they're thick epoxy, almost 1/4 of an inch thick, so it just slides back and forth on those. It takes the paint off, but I'm not worried about the paint if the epoxy's there, because that's the real barrier. So anyway, it made a little mark there where the rope rubbed on the side, and here where the rope rubbed on the side a little bit, we filled it with epoxy and then painted over it. So we're good to go. Back here we did kind of the same thing, just little patch jobs just to keep her watertight. Keep water from getting into the wood, and that's it, folks. So we're done with this hole for now.